I just got my hands on the Sundering mod for Medieval 2, which, if you didn't know, focuses on the splintering of the elves into two factions, the High Elves and the Dark Elves. But one of the coolest things about this mod is that it actually introduced the Tomb Kings and the Skaven to custom battle and multiplayer. The Tomb Kings are the hordes of the undead that hail from a land far to the south of the Old World, a land called Nehekara, and they're heavily inspired by the Kingdom of Egypt, have some of the coolest monsters in Warhammer, and are probably my second or third favorite race in the entire fantasy universe. The Skaven, if you don't already know, are another faction I'm very much excited for in Total War Warhammer. They're basically a race of technologically advanced humanoid rats, and they are without question the most evil race in the entire universe, more evil than Chaos, and possess absolutely no admirable qualities at all, but they are intelligent in their own way, and they have some very epic, unique units in the tabletop game. But now I want to take a quick spotlight of both these armies before we get into the multiplayer battle, which is going to be a really good one. So I hope you guys can join me for that, and I'll see you all on the battlefield. The shambling hordes of the undead sprawled before you now, skeleton warriors and tomb guard, the mummified remains of Cetra the Imperishable's elite guard up front. Behind that, just now coming into view, the tomb scorpions, bound to the spirit of a mummified lich priest. Powerful charge and great at disrupting enemy formations, and besides them, the Ushabti, guardian statues of the Great Pyramids, brought to life by magic. Great charge bonus, very devastating in melee combat, but low in number. Behind that, we've got some skeleton chariots and screaming skull catapults, used to cause fear and break morale more than outright kill troops, but behind that, is that a pair of bone giants? Yes, it is. They are fear-causing shock troops used to cut through the heart of enemy formations, and they are intimidating as all hell. Leading the Skaven into battle, a bunch of units of Stormvermin, heavily armored and elite shock troops for the Ratmen. I must say that I don't really like how they're represented in this mod, but I will talk about that in a little bit. Next in line, a group of Warplock Jezzails, equipped with rifles that fire toxic warpstone ammunition. Great at killing monsters and other high-value targets, and they have very long range. They'll often be able to fire at the deployment right from the start of a battle. Behind that, a group of Plague Monks of Clan Pestilence. They are disease-riddled and fanatic Skaven with poison blades. And coming up right behind that, two of the most iconic Skaven units, the terror-inducing Screaming Bell, pushed by a team of Rat Ogres and the Poison Wind Globadiers, units that throw crystal orbs filled with warpstone gas. They're going to function a lot like Nafatoon or Grenadiers. So behind that, coming up a little bit further behind the army, we've got the Mona Lisa of Clan Moulder's mad experiments in the pits underground. Massive mutated Skaven used to plow through enemy ranks. They are the Rat Ogres, and next to that, the Warp Lightning Cannons of Clan Scryer. It's going to be an awesome replay, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into it. As this battle starts, the Warplock Jezzails and Warp Lightning Cannons are going to open up on my Tomb King's army. The cannons are capable of absolutely obliterating enemy monsters with ease on the tabletop game, but they often misfire and kill their own crew or friendly units. And of course, in a quintessentially Skaven way to start a battle, the Warp Lightning Cannons are going to actually kill a handful of their own Globadiers as they fire. And that is one thing about the Skaven, is that they really don't care when they misfire and kill hundreds of their own kinds. My Tomb King army is going to start moving up now. Just took a massive shot from one of the Warp Lightning Cannons. Tomb Guard kind of got beaten up by that. Ushabti moving up right behind that, and then my Skeletons, meat shields up front in loose formation, just to soak up some of that fire from the Jezzails, as my Cavalry and my Tomb Scorpions, who have an awesome animation by the way. You'll see their charge animation a little bit here. They look really, really cool, are moving up on the right flank. So some of the Rat Ogres from the Skaven moving up now. The Globadiers are going to open up fire as well. Start throwing their globes up into the air, going to come down, and I'm going to charge right into the Rat Ogres. And one thing you'll notice in this mod is that the cavalry charges are insane. The speed of this mod is much different than Call of Warhammer, actually. Feels more like Rome 1, but massive charge here coming in, going to obliterate the entire unit of Poison Wind Globadiers with my Skeleton Horsemen. Great charge there, and it's going to open up the right flank for me. Should be able to deal with those Rat Ogres very soon as well. My Tomb Scorpions should see to that. And then the Chariot's going to pull through here. Big charge, going to throw a lot of the Skaven straight up into the air, breaking through the Plague Monks over on this side. So things are going pretty well on my left flank, and I've disrupted a lot of his formation already. Bunch of the Warp Lightning Cannon fire still coming in, and my Tomb Guard are now going to engage the Stormvermin in the center. still kind of pulling through with the chariots, and Bone Giants up the center. Massive charge is going to get through everything. You can see their speed and their power. They're just going to charge through right the center of the formation, get into the Screaming Bell, and start doing some flanking damage. Horsemen engaged on the right flank with some Rat Ogres and some other Plague Monks. And now my Bone Giants are going to come back straight into the back of the Stormvermin here, who are actually not engaged with anything else at the moment. And you're going to see the massive AoE attack here. They have 15 or 20 dead with that one swing, just obliterating like a half of this unit in a couple of seconds. Bone Giant's doing a ton of damage in the center here. On the right flank, actually, my Horseman got a good charge into his Plague Monks, took out an entire unit. Rat Ogres tried to cover, but to no avail. And Gojira and I were noticing how quick these engagements were going. Like, the speed of it, like I said, is so much faster than normal Medieval 2. I'm not sure why that is, but it's interesting, to say the least. Bone Giants in the center doing very well for me. The Tomb Scorpions getting in the back here. Now, when you see these Skaven getting thrown up into the air, they're not actually dying. Tomb Scorpions haven't gotten a ton of kills yet, but what they do is they do cause fear, much like the rest of the Tomb King's army. A lot of these units cause fear, and they throw units up into the air, just disrupting their formations, doing some damage, but not actually killing everything they throw up. The Horsemen have gotten into the Jezzails that cover the Warp Lightning Cannons, and those have actually stopped firing. Don't really have a good line of sight at this point, and my Horsemen in the back just causing a bunch of trouble. And a bunch of the Skaven line has actually already collapsed. They are running. Balance bar is shifted in my favor, and this is going to start going really poorly for the Skaven very fast. You can see the Bone Giants just walking through a unit of Plague Monks, throwing them up into the air. He does have some Jezzails and Rat Ogres in the back, though, and the Jezzails are actually going to do quite a bit of damage to monster units. They fired on my Tomb Scorpions actually earlier on, and a bunch of my Tomb Scorpions have already died, but I'm not sure I caught that on camera. Rat Ogres and Horsemen in the back here. Rat Ogres actually doing quite a bit of damage to my cavalry. Going to cut them down relatively easy in melee. But I have routed a lot of his more important troops. Skaven do have a little bit of wonky morale, especially against the fear-causing troops of the Tomb Kings, and I've broken through his center here. His flanks are holding a little bit steadier, but my Tomb Guard should do relatively well against the Stormvermin, and most of his entire center has completely collapsed. A bunch of his guys are running from the field now. They will come back, and the Jezzails, especially when they come back, will get a bunch of good shots off on me, so we'll try to catch that pretty soon here. But did manage to rout a bunch of his center with the Bone Giant's massive charge bonus, and that started shifting things in my favor very early on in the battle. So as we see a bunch of Plague Monks and Stormvermin run by, one thing that I really don't like about the Stormvermin in this mod is that they kind of look ridiculous. They don't look that cool and intimidating. I think Vermintide did an absolutely amazing job demonstrating what the Stormvermin are like. They're basically heavily armored in chain and plate mail with these massive halberds, and they look really intimidating, and only a handful of them can actually kill you in Vermintide, but in this they just kind of look not very intimidating or elite. Honestly, they don't really give off that vibe, but I am going to manage to kill the Skaven general right there with one of my units of Tomb Guard, and my Giants are tasting blood now, and they're chasing. Oh my god, just that charge is so satisfying to watch. They're going to charge through the Stormvermin running right there. So my Ushabti fighting 1v1 against the Rat Ogres, that's a really cool fight right there. Pretty even as well. But one of my Tomb Giant general is going to die. One of my Bone Giants is going to go down to a volley of Warp Lock Jezzails, and the other one going to try to get into melee and get shot. So that's what I'm talking about. The Jezzails can do a bunch of damage to the monster units. So I think that he's done a pretty good job focusing down my more important troops with those, but his main line just could not stand up to mine, and a bunch of his guys are routing balance bar like at 85% in my favor. Ushabti getting into the middle of these Plague Monks, just throwing them up into the air with their great weapons, doing a bunch of damage. That was a really weird glitch with the Skaven there. He got all stretched out and weird looking, but I mean, seriously, the models in Sundering are just as good as they are in Call of Warhammer. They are amazing. I love what they did with the Tomb Kings and the Skaven, with the exception, of course, of the Stormvermin look. Believe me, like, check Google images for what Stormvermin look like in Vermintide. They look intimidating as hell. But Rat Ogres running from the field now, pretty much taking everything. A bunch of my Tomb Guard moving up now with their massive pike halberds, and things going really, really well for me. Not going to be a whole lot left on the field. A couple Rat Ogres that haven't routed for the Skaven. Going to cut through those and the Plague Monks, and soon going to take the field here. So I really love the look of the Ushabti and the Tomb King roster in general. They're one of the factions I'm most excited for in Total War Warhammer. They are missing a couple of my favorite monster units in this mod for the Tomb Kings, the Kemrian War Sphinx and the Necro Sphinx specifically. They're two monster killing units that are just absolutely brutal in combat and are going to be so much fun to watch when Warhammer drops. But one of the coolest things that I've been thinking about in Total War Warhammer is when the Blood and Gore DLC drops, when you see something like the Necro Sphinx fight against like giants and kill those with heroic killing blow and that kind of stuff, like there's going to be some epic kill animations between monster units, like a spider versus a giant fighting, or a Necro Sphinx like beheading a giant. Like there's some really cool stuff that they can do with that, and I'm just so excited for what they can do with the not only the Blood and Gore DLC but just the game in general. There's so many cool things they can do. But I'm finally going to take the field here. Skaven are going to rout from the field my Ushabti and my Tomb Giants, Bone Giants rather, just being too much for the Ratmen. They're going to run from the field, scare like little girls, and I'm going to take it. So that was a really fun battle. It was the first one we played on the Sundering. It was a different speed than the other Call of Warhammer battles we fought. Much faster paced, honestly, and we weren't expecting that at all, but it was a lot of fun. We weren't used to it all. We didn't know what to expect. Again, a lot of this does come down to the army compositions rather than just out-microing your opponent. But I did do quite well. Got about 1,000 kills and 200 kills on routing units, and I lost about 650 men. Tomb Giants, 145 kills, quite good, and a bunch of my other units did quite well. Chariots and my Ushabti. Ushabti didn't actually do a ton of damage or a lot of kills, but they were fighting Rat Ogres and some of the more high-value targets, so maybe the 40 and 50 kills makes more sense with those. But in general, did quite well across the board. Really enjoyed it. Hope you guys did as well. Tomb Kings and Skaven, some really good action on the Sundering, and more Total War Warhammer stuff will be coming to you all soon. Peace out.